Hi, my name is Matt Carroll with World Class Coaching, and today with the help of Academy Sports Coach 2025, I want to talk to you about a session that I've designed for working on playing passes on the move. So what we're working on here is for maybe a through ball, receiving on the run, maybe you're making a run up the wing and receiving a ball out of the air, things like that. But this concept of being on the move, I think a lot of times when we're teaching passing, we're focused on technique, which is necessary. But when we're focused on technique, we're generally, when they're receiving, they're running to a spot, stopping, receiving, and then moving and changing direction. And a lot of times in the game, we have a situation, especially in the box, where we're playing a through ball, where we have players that are on the move and they're not stationary and they're receiving on a sprint and have to be able to do that. I think a lot of the challenge there is obviously the mechanics of running and then the mechanics of trapping a ball, but then your eyes are moving, you're bouncing up and down. It's one of those things you need repetition to get used to that concept of receiving on the run. So the session today is designed around that concept. So what we got here is kind of like, I call it like a carousel or a merry-go-round kind of deal, where we have we may have more players here, maybe 2 or 3 for our groups, but player starts here and they sprint. And what the player in the middle, or the coach, if you want, is trying to do is play this pass on the run. So they receive this pass about halfway through their run. And what they have to do is they have to take a directional touch to the outside of this cone here. So this should be, player movement 1. So they're in the middle of this run, they're receiving a pass, they're redirecting that ball, so they're coming around the cone, and then they're sprinting here, around this cone. So once they do that, they'll come around and they'll lay off the ball. They can start slowly dribbling. So they get to this cone, they'll lay off the ball to the coach, player in the middle here. So there's another ball in the middle that this player can play, or coach in the middle can play. And they come around here and reset it. So these 2 top lines are sprints. These 2 are jogs. So we're, again, trying to create more game-like situation and create that environment in their heads of sprint, move, drive to space. Now you're walking, jogging, whatever, scanning, and doing everything you can do, and you're playing a pass, like a smaller pass here to that player. So you can have this in a larger group. You can make this bigger. So you're making more like through balls. This might be more kind of a smaller scale, more representative of maybe a pass in the box, when they're making it like a darting run. You can make it bigger and have more players in. You can make this, if you're doing a small session, you're just working with individual players. This might be a really good one for creating some tempo in your session after you've done like a little bit of teaching and methodology and technique. So it's pretty flexible, but again, we're getting that concept of how are we receiving. So we're talking about putting angling our foot, timing up our steps, driving the ball away from your body, using your momentum to redirect the ball, all those types of things. And we're just getting a lot of repetition. And then what I would do is then I would reverse it, so you're receiving from the left side and the right side as well. So players are apt to be able to do both. From there, what I would do is I would set up a small-sided grid where we've got players playing in an area, but there's an extended area beyond where the goals are. So we've got, let's say, 3 players in black, 3 players in yellow, and they're playing within this grid. And outside of the grid, we've got goals, and we can have goalies here. You can make these big goals, you can make these small-sided goals. Kind of depends on what you're looking to get out of it. And you'll see why in a second, kind of, how this would change. So they're playing, and let's say we're going to make the setting for every 5 passes, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Black is they had the pass requirement. Okay. So let's say what we can now do is once they get their 5 passes in this keep away game in the middle of the grid, they can play a pass that breaks the line. These yellow sticks can break the line, and we can have a player enter and attack the goal. But the caveat is they only have 2 touches. So this player is going to sprint here to meet the ball, and they have 2 touches. 1 touch to contain the ball, 1 touch to get a shot. So we're working here not just on the receiving end of it, but the passing end of it, so that we're really worried about angles and the weight of the pass, so that will they have enough time to be able to handle this pass, will they be able to control this ball, et cetera, et cetera. But then the player is taking a pass off of the on the run, and then trying to set themselves up, body positioning to then do a finish. So they don't have all that time. You only have 1 touch to set the pass up, so slow the way of the pass and redirect it to your body shape, and then use your body shape to look for and find a finish. Same thing with yellow, and they go back and forth. Now again, you can have your goalies here. You can have small-sided goals if you're looking for more like a passing concept, like looking for a little more accuracy. We can also have maybe the defender is allowed to enter the grid, so they can play it live, which would be kind of, I would always start with no player entering the grid to get into the concept of them like breaking the line and going 1v1 and all that stuff, and just so they can see the patterns, and then work in a defender that is there to make sure that the runs are realistic and they're not just running into a position where, like in a real game, they make the run and the defender would just step back and block it. You can even make the goals a little further away, so that when they do break the line and you allow more players to then enter the broken line grid, that allows them to do is make a game like it's a breakaway. You've played the through ball and your time. Maybe we reduce we get rid of the touch limit, but there's natural consequences. Like if you take too many touches, the rest of the team's going to be able to catch up with you, and you've lost that advantage of breaking the line and essentially breaking the last defender and getting in this open space. So what I would do from here, I'm going to reset, clear this. All right. What I would do from here is I'm going to play our scrimmage. Okay, I'm going to go into our scrimmage, but in this situation, goals that are scored from plays on the run are going to be worth 2 points rather than 1 point. So what we're looking for is we're going to have our defense playing a line. So what I would do here to challenge your players, and this really works if you have an assistant coach, but really what I'm looking for the player to do is, for the defensive coach to do, is to coach the line and make it very difficult. So when their players are making these runs and they're looking to receive, it's not just, they're going up against the defense and you're only focused on the offense. The coach is coaching the back line and really talking to them and focusing on them and trying to get them to catch this player off sides. So now we've talked about the technical elements of receiving a pass. We've talked about them receiving on the run, directing passes. We've worked on it then bringing it into a game-like situation where they're receiving a pass, they're directing into space and trying to find a finish. But now we're working on it. How will that actually work in a game? What does this actually look like? And they're working against a team that's actively trying to stop them from doing this, not just actively, playing the game. The back line is working, because if they don't and they get broken, it's going to create a situation where the opposition is going to get more points than they normally would have. So we're working on these players as a back line, trying to step up and catch our attacking team offsides and working an offsides trap. So if that's something you were already working on, great. Your defense is getting that work, but our offense is working on breaking that offsides trap, or breaking that back line for finishes and finishing on the run. And I would say if you're going to make this work, the only way they can score off this play is they have 2 touches after breaking the line. So if this does happen, we're trying to make it as quick as possible. We're trying to set them up, have that mentality of, when I receive, how am I looking to go? Now, in a game, it's not always going to be take 2 touches, but we want them to develop that mindset of, I've broken the line, I want to go to goal as fast as humanly possible. So I'd love to hear in the comment section some of the things you guys do in order to teach, different styles of passing, different ways of receiving. We try to make, we're teaching technique, we try to create a sterile environment in which the players are receiving, you're receiving passes they're in best case scenario. But how do you teach it when it's not? Bad passes, dealing with bad bounces, dealing with deflected passes. How much time do you spend with your players teaching that and developing that ability to kind of improvise and figure out different ways of receiving? So once again, my name is Matt Carroll with World Class Coaching, and with the help of Academy Sports Coach 2025, I hope this session finds you well.